On this episode of the Center Shots column on BOWHUNTINGMag.com, I'm going to be talking about what makes a bow forgiving. I'm going to take a more open-minded look at that. For years we've had this conception of what makes for a forgiving bow. We're going to explore that a little bit more on this episode. And if you go back to the July issue of the magazine, you'll see in my Center Shots column I went into a lot of detail on this. I'm going to hit it real quick here, but the concept is the quicker you can get the arrow out of the bow, the more forgiving the bow is. And conventional wisdom has been that requires a high brace height, because obviously with a high brace height, you know, the distance between the grip and the string, if the string's not traveling forward as far, the arrow gets off quicker. So you have less time to influence the accuracy of the shot. And really, the idea is not so much how high is the brace height, but how quickly do you get the arrow off the bow. So the new thought pattern is these bows are so fast and the string speed is so fast that now you can actually take a bow with a lower brace height and have less time when the arrow is attached to the string than when you had a bow with a higher brace height. So just depending on the string speed. So you combine string speed with brace height, and that's going to give you an indication of how long the arrow is on the string. So anyway, let's compare this to what rifle shooters have long come accustomed to calling lock time. And if you go back to the old-fashioned times when they used flint locks, it took a while between the time when you pulled the trigger, the hammer dropped, the spark went in the pan, the flame made it through into the barrel and ignited the primary charge of powder and sent the ball down the barrel. That's a lot of time for the marksman to have to hold the gun steady. It was got a period of time between click, boom, when he couldn't be moving around, he couldn't be doing a lot of stuff with the aiming point of the gun. Same thing with the bow. The longer it takes to get the arrow off the string, the less forgiving the bow is. So again, we're opening up a whole different thought process here. I'm going to set this bow down and grab a couple others. This is a PSE axe, which has a real low brace height. If you can see, between my thumb and the string, it's not a very high brace height. I'm not even sure what the number is, but it's probably 6 inches or less. This bow may be just as forgiving as some bows that have a much higher brace height because the string speed is fast. The cam is set with a very aggressive draw force profile. The string moves fast, the arrow gets off the string quicker. So we're redefining forgiveness. Here's one that's the Bear Carnage. This one has a little bit higher brace height. You can see this one's probably somewhere in the upper 6s, maybe pushing 7 inches. It's the same thing here. Now, once again, we're looking at how long does it take to get the arrow off the string. And this one, if the string is moving the same speed as the PSE, which I'm not sure that it is or isn't, I'm just saying if, then this is going to be, in theory, a more forgiving bow because you got a fast string and a higher brace height. Well, if you got a fast string and a lower brace height or a slow string and a higher brace height, they could be just as forgiving. So let's say, for example, I did some mathematics on this, and if you have a bow with a short brace height, let's say it's 5-inch brace height versus one with a 6 or a 7-inch brace height, you're thinking, well, that 5-inch brace height bow is going to be a lot less forgiving. But the math suggests that the arrow is only on the string, a couple of milliseconds longer. Not a lot. It's not like a huge amount of time where you've got, a lot of time to influence the flight of the arrow. But what that translates into downrange might be more important because now you pick up some additional arrow speed from this lower brace height. Maybe now the deer, when you shoot and he tries to duck the string, he can't drop as far. That makes the shot more forgiving too. It's not just what happens on the bow itself, but what happens in the field under real hunting conditions. Think about it in terms of unknown range shooting. A faster arrow can really equate to flattening out that trajectory, eliminating some of the variables in range estimation. Same thing with shooting through holes. Like you're shooting through some branches and a big looping trajectory requires a lot more space to shoot through without deflecting off something. So keep all that in mind. So it's not just a matter of what's happening on the bow itself, what are the physical characteristics of the bow, but also the performance of the bow. So a fast bow can be a more forgiving bow. And we're showing that brace height is not as huge of a consideration as what we've been led to believe in conventional wisdom. If you're practicing with your bow quite a bit, you're going to be able to handle a bow with a slightly lower brace height and not have a whole lot of problems shooting it accurately. So anyway, I hope the tips have helped you today. We'll catch you back here next month for the next episode of Center Shots column on BOWHUNTINGMag.com.